Okay, testing. I finally have a little condenser for this microphone that I was unhappy with. Let me just let loose for 5 minutes. Once upon a time, there was a people. Who knows what their name was? But they seemed to build beautiful cities and buildings, gardens, canals, all throughout the realm. There's no exception. We see their hand everywhere. Even in wasteland, their footprint can still be seen. And then these people were wiped out. It's unclear what kind of catastrophic event took place, but these people were wiped out. And not just wiped out, but buried, cooked and buried. To this day, we are still unearthing the evidence for this, but there's no shortage of evidence. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and we have thousands of pictures. And then, after a gap in time, what the mainstream calls the Dark Ages, we have the emergence of people. These people arrive from seemingly all different places. Immigration taking place in all countries in the 1850s, clear up to present day, people being shuffled around, almost guided into these cities. These cities are in ruins. The people are in ruins, clueless, but yet again being guided along. Someone has an agenda. Histories would be written, essentially excuses for everything, answers to questions that would be asked inevitably. So schools lay out the history to satisfy all inquisitive minds. And essentially it's that simple. We are squatters. We have moved in, all of us, no matter where you are. And the Native Americans will grab a handful of dirt, tell you these are our ancestors. This is our ancestors, the dirt. And I understand this more than ever today. And I think that's it in a nutshell. I myself and other channels approach it from different angles, honing in to particular stories, dissecting them, disproving them. But in a nutshell, that's it. And I think that's it for this little rant. Thank you. A video is one of the most disposable forms of media. Sorry, it seems life always delivers its own ingredients than what we have planned. I don't know anything. I think I know. And then things change, and we see things as they really are. Maybe we realize our ideas were not our own, and sometimes even our feelings. I think it's important to consider such things. Oftentimes I pretend that I've just been born, every day, just born, no past, and how do things seem now, without stories attached to them. Some things may not be completely appreciated. Take this building, for example. I mean, I don't know how it can't be appreciated, but clearly at some point, a bunch of people didn't appreciate it and had it torn down. Penn Station. I mean, if we look at this man here, just the base of this column is like 2 stories. Base of the column. Column itself, 10 or 20 stories. Supporting all this excess? I mean, to the top of the column base is a fine building in this time period. Okay, double it. We'll give them twice as much. 2 column bases high, a fine building. That would bring it to about here. Little man, plenty of room for his head. This indoor area almost has an outdoor feel. The street lamps and its enormous ceiling height is ridiculous. And this type of concrete is seldom seen today, especially with the arches. It's to say you're going to have a mold. You're going to have to build a mold of wood or something in order to pour this ceiling. So like building 2 buildings. A wood one, and then you pour your cement, and then you remove your wood forms. And it's a great idea. It's given me a great idea. I can see how you would do it. I'm not sure why you would do it, especially in this time period, this very early time period. And again, the building was demolished. This is all top quality construction. The highest quality, in my opinion. And this is not something that you would build for any less than 200 years. It's amazing they were able to demolish it. Here again, a different angle, a different day. And in today's video, I wanted to start out with this Penn Station, and then we're gonna go back to like the year 0 and look at a building in Rome with this same concrete design. Here we can see some ghoulish figures, as to be expected, with a slower shutter speed. Somebody here that moved, these people moved around, but otherwise pretty slow, and really resembling the interior of the World's Fairs, as we were checking out in a past video. Really industrial steelwork and glass, and not sparing beauty. Here we can see the people waiting for the train, and look at this machinery up here. I mean, this really looks more like a factory, an old world factory, and I think everything was all inclusive. For instance, the cathedrals producing gases, harnessing atmospheric electricity, acting as batteries or capacitors, and healing. And that's how you would do it. In a functional civilization, everything would do everything. I think that this old world thought that way. Cities of the future in the past. How fascinating. I mean, really heavy, this research. I've become pretty comfortable with it by now, and it helps to have a community. I mean, it's not like if all you had was your family, friends, and coworkers to share something like this with. It would most definitely fall on deaf ears and lead you to question your sanity. And I think I've maybe toned it down a little bit. It's kind of like when I started, I feel like I did have something to prove, and I don't feel that anymore, and I don't care. I mean, it's sad if somebody doesn't see it, but does it really matter? I mean, I think it's like an offering, a truth will set you free kind of nugget. Here, look at this. You think we could do this with horse and wagon? You think we could build this in a few years? You think we would demolish it? Why does it look so weathered and old when it was new? And this is just an opportunity. If somebody rejects, then they have a lot more coming. A lot more tricks are waiting for them. This is an invitation to see the truth of our history and to understand who is presently in control. In control of what? Everything. Every nation, every major corporation and institution. As Matt used to say, all under the wing. So anyway, without further ado, let's look at that same concrete work in Rome, built in the year 0, but they admit they don't know. Next, I want to look at the Pantheon. The Pantheon in Rome. A round structure with a domed roof and a square porch here for coffee and smokes. Really nice porch. A portico. And here is a look at the inside. The inside, just an awesome building here. And again, you can see the concrete. And here again, we'll jump to Penn Station concrete. And so at Penn Station we have kind of a hexagonal pattern with 4 steps, and at the Pantheon in Rome we have a square pattern with 4 steps. And just as beautiful. The same hand, the same signature, and references of decor. Penn Station, old and weathered, demolished. Pantheon survives. Built around the year 0. Let's see. A former Roman temple since AD 609. It was built on the site of an earlier temple in 27 BC, then it burnt down. The present building was ordered by Emperor Hadrian and probably dedicated in AD 126. So there we go, probably, just kind of winging it. Freestyle history, probably dedicated. Its date of construction is uncertain because Hadrian, again this man, he's like, I don't give a shit, sorry, chose not to inscribe the new temple, but rather to retain the inscription of the older temple. Oh yes, the one that burnt down with an older date. So he rebuilt it, but decided not to inscribe a new date. But again, the date of construction is uncertain. Somewhere in between 0 and maybe 609. So they don't know anything, but they know everything else. A rectangular vestibule links the porch to the rotunda, which is under a coffered concrete dome. Almost 2,000 years after it was built, the Pantheon's dome is still the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome. So that's it. The largest unreinforced concrete dome happens to be one of the oldest, and its date of construction is uncertain. Largest dome, oldest, everything else uncertain. It is one of the best preserved of all ancient Roman buildings. Here again, let's appreciate the inside. And everything falls apart, in my opinion, with such a study. Here we can see the complex magnetron. If you don't know, every microwave has a part inside of it that looks like this. It's called the magnetron. This is a machine. I mean, it is. We know. But even if you didn't know, you might be suspicious. This is an old machine, and possibly not as old as they're telling us. Not necessarily 2,000 years old, but maybe the same age as these wonders we find all throughout the realm. Okay, let's have a little bonus. If you're still here, bless you. This was a little article I saved. It looks like it was written in August of 2013. It says, too many people love to say Atlanta tore down all its history. Many buildings have been preserved. In 1836, there were merely 35 families living on the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, which eventually became Atlanta. In 1970, there was over 1 million people. And we've looked at these pictures before, especially the Civil War photos. They don't look like this. They look like this part, but we do see a lot of wooden structures in this picture, looking like a war zone. But this is a really positive showcase. What is left? So here we have the state capitol, built of limestone in 1889. In my last video, or one of them, we discussed city halls, and I didn't include this one. This is awesome. Georgia City Hall. Look at this. Little tower, 17 stories tall. Here we can see the lobby. And I don't know, maybe they're serving popcorn here? Looking very dysfunctional, this event, compared to the building. And here, a shopping district that was thriving in the 40s and 50s, is underground. There we go, we can see the blockage. Same stuff I've discovered in the middle of Utah. Oftentimes attributed to Richardsonian design, and we see brick incorporated with it. And here just some store, and then we zoom in and we can see some of the facading features. Really beautiful. And here they have a little flat iron building, and this is just zooming into that building. Looks like we have a space for lease or sale. So you see how they've just chopped up this building into many pieces. This one they've really modernized, the Residence Inn. And here we can see the inside. And really feeling like downtown Salt Lake City to me. Very reminiscent. And you might be thinking the same of a city that you're familiar with. Here are the rotunda at the Healy Building in Atlanta. Here is the Grant Building with new windows. Here is the U.S. Court of Appeals. Of course, U.S. always gets first dibs. The Candler Building in Atlanta. Really beautiful. Here is what they're calling the Tabernacle. Just a big old brick building. And here's the interior. I guess for short they call it the Tabby. It reminds me of the third City Hall of Chicago. It was called the Rookery. And even way back they called it the Old Rook. Even when it was brand new. The Old Rook. And here's the Tabby. The Tabernacle. The Ellis Hotel. The Glen Hotel, all old worlders that have been preserved. Davison's, 1927. AT&T, just like in Salt Lake, they had a crazy old worlder. And you wouldn't know it. It looks like kind of ordinary until you look closely. And here we have that showcased for us. Here we go. Built in are these characters. Here we go. This is a life insurance building, one of them. A Baptist church, some other church. Look how they call it Big Bethel. And a municipal market from 1923. The Hurt Building, the lobby rotunda in the Hurt Building. Super cool. A hospital, it doesn't look like a hospital. Another courthouse, a church. And I think we can see this one in a lot of the old black and white photos. So that's it. Stupid little bonus. I hope you enjoyed. Fortunately also, this community is so kind. The first community in my life that is so supportive and appreciative, even if I do make a sucky video. As a student of the spirit, I find I've walked many paths. And at this moment, I subscribe to the idea of letting go of the self. I think I talk about this a lot. There is the artificial self that you are conditioned into becoming, that you are encouraged to become, both as a mental person and a legal person, kind of forced into these, shaped and molded by artificial constructs. And at times, especially with animal companions, I'm able to shake this artificial self and just exist from the awareness. The awareness, like the birds, not thinking and analyzing and resisting and fighting, but just being. And the hardest thing in my life is not that, actually. It's others wanting me to play a certain role. The role that I've played before I realized I was playing a role. And it's pretty interesting. It could be worse. I could be totally submerged in the character and know nothing else. But at this phase in my particular life, it's the struggle, the idea of telling others and how to tell others. This has been a look at next week's video. I want to thank the subscriber who tipped me off to this. So I think that's it. But for today, I thank you for joining me. God bless. I love you all, and I'll see you next week.